All right, guys, so I just realized that I was not on. So we should be live now. Um, yeah, let me know if you can hear me now. And you should be able to see charting. All right, let me go verify something. I am not seeing what you guys are seeing. Okay, it's loading. Hang on, bear with me for a minute. Okay, so again, my daughter decided. Can you guys hear me okay? Can someone let me know if you can hear me? Okay, so sorry about that. I'm having issues over here. I'm not hardwired in. I've got fiber optics, but my machine is wireless connection. So I'll fix that over the weekend. I've got to get some wire, and I am going to hardwire my system in. So that should clear up some of the lagging that we've been experiencing. I'm really hoping it does. If not, I'll upgrade. I'll up my fiber optics. So we've got like their starter speed, which should be good enough. But if it's not, I'll up it to the next level. So anyways, what I was just saying real quick so I can get into charting was my daughter decided that she did not, when she woke up, she decided she didn't want to ride the bus. She wanted me to take her to school. She wanted an extra hour of sleep. So that's why I'm late getting back here. Normally I'm in here by 7:38. We've been starting at 8 doing top-down analysis. So this isn't actually going to be so much top-down analysis. I will get to that, but right now I'm in a couple trades. So we'll go over those and then real quick, and then we'll look at our top-down on here while we're in the trades as well. Okay, so let me switch over to the chart. All right, so here we are. Let me double click this. I have to manually start this every time, the charting. I don't know why it makes me do that, but we'll try and figure that out. So we might still get a little lagging because I've got YouTube open. The only way I can stop that's if I shut down my page, but then I can't see if you guys are chatting in there. So, all right. So I'm in gold and oil right now. I did not get into platinum. Wish I would have, but I didn't. So I have runners on right now. Okay. So this is where I'm at in gold right now. And this is a 4-hour chart. So we know that it's been banging around between these two zones. Okay. And we use trend lines. So I use trend lines as my base, and then I also look at the price action to pick a low and a high, okay, pick my zones. Because I know the market makers, the big boys, they are trading off of price solely. They're not drawing trend lines on their charts, the market makers. Now, we draw trend lines on our charts because we can see something trending in one direction. And when it's trending in one direction, we'll draw a trend line. And as long as it follows that trend, we'll stay in. And we'll look to only take, if it's an uptrend line like this green one, we'll only look to take longs. That's in our favor because it's trending up. Well, where is it trending up to? It's trending up here, back up to this price. Okay. So this candle here was yesterday. That's the 10 a.m. candle. So I think yesterday when I started talking, it was down in there and it was kind of in the middle. And I would always rather take an instrument when it is down bouncing off a zone, like bouncing here off of this low, this zone, and forming a higher high, higher low. So on the way up here, we formed higher highs and higher lows. Well, then it started forming lower lows and lower highs. So it's moving down. So I would much rather, it's safer for me to take a trade when it is near a zone. Okay, that's just safer. So more reasons to get in the trade, I'm going to max out my contracts. And you guys know I just use 10 as an example. So let's say you put on 10 on a great setup, 100% setup, an A+ setup. Well, if it's at one of these zones and it's turning, then you're looking pretty golden. I would trust that trade versus getting in here in the middle. Now, can we get in the middle? Yes, we can draw trend lines, and we can find minor support and resistance off of bounces, and then we can still get in a trade. A little riskier, yes. So you have to take that into consideration. This should all be thought out ahead of time, where you look and say, you know what, I really like to trade in the direction of the 4-hour chart. I want to mainly go with that and look for that for the base of the reason for me to take a trade. That's going to be my base. If it's bouncing off a 4-hour zone, I'm going to 4-hour upper zone. I'm going to look to go short. So that's the base of my trade. That gives me 50% reason to take it short just because it's bouncing off of the upper zone. It gives me 50% reason to take it long just because it's bouncing off the lower zone. Okay, that could be the base of your trade criteria. So you guys know I have the trade sheet that I use, that I let people use. I made it way back in the day for people to use as a checklist to just, if you don't check the boxes, you don't take a trade. You shouldn't be just sitting down taking a trade blindly. So that could be the base. You can change that up however you see fit. And you could say, you know, I know MC uses the 1 hour. I hope it's okay I use you as an example. He uses the 1 hour to get in and out, but he's looking at a 4-hour. So again, he may say, well, you know what, on the 4-hour, it's bouncing off of a lower zone, and it's making now higher high, higher low on the 1 hour, and then he gets in. But the 4-hour shows that it's near a zone. So I would rather call an A+ setup or 100% setup a bounce near a zone. Now, this was, again, yesterday we were in here, and it did what? It just continued on up to that upper zone, and then we saw it come down off that to this 4-hour zone that we marked. And this 4-hour zone was basically off of these lows back in here, these two candles right here. That's just where I picked that line. And it's kind of hard sometimes because I saw two here, and then you see these back here that were a little lower. It's like, well, do we draw it under that low? Is that, or that candle body? Is that where I want to draw it? Well, I look for 1, 2, 3 bounces to make a line. So for me, this was one little swoop down, and I don't want to draw my line off that. I look over here and see candle bodies. I look over here and see candle bodies. That to me is kind of like double validation. I would rather use that price level than the one time it was tapped here. And then if you even look back to the left, we got some candle wicks in there. So to me, and you could do a zone. You could have full well done a zone from that level to the candle bodies here. Okay? So, yeah, I know oil has been dropping. So basically, it shot down to that support and resistance level. Again, no surprises. None. This is 10 o'clock last night. So no surprises. Don't let it totally just floor you, surprise you, shock you. There is none. There shouldn't be when you're trading. And there's ways to avoid being totally shocked, surprised. Why does it turn? I see all the time. It's like, well, why did it turn there? Well, price level. Okay? It pulled down here, and it turned here and shot back up toward that upper zone. Why? It's not a mystery. To me, it's not a mystery. It turned around this price level that the market makers deemed a price level. I didn't say, hey, this is a price level. This isn't some magic line I put on there yesterday and said this is the level we need to be aware of. Okay? It's the movements. So we're just looking at the movements, and it's an agreeable price between the market makers. Okay? And it'll get tested, sometimes surpassed, like here, but then it stopped at the zone and went back up. So Those I like to just draw as lines. I like my one zone above, one zone below. We have that. I'm just leaving them yellow. You can change it. We can change this one to green, this one to red if you need to. But my zones that I color, red, yellow, and green, I only draw on the 4-hour time frame. If I want to draw a zone on a smaller time frame, I normally just make it gray. I won't color those red, yellow, and green because the red, yellow, and green is reserved for 4-hour zones. So this is the trade I'm in, and I don't think I need to go. We'll just look at a 1 hour. There's the 1 hour. But you see, as we drop down to that zone, it pulled back and basically tested the back of the old trend line, tested the old support level or resistance level, the high. Didn't quite get there, but it basically touched this high. Okay, it touched it. And then we saw a big green candle down. That's a 1 hour candle, another pullback. So even on the 1 hour, you're seeing a high, which was a test of the resistance levels, multiple, this high over here. We have a 4-hour zone. We have a trend line. I would have loved to take that short. Now on a 1 hour time, I don't trade on a 1 hour. I'm down looking at a 5 minute and 3 minute to get in. So, because I like to wait on candle closes. Well, as you see, we had a long red candle, and I would not have got, even trading a 1 hour, I wouldn't have got on that long red candle because it's just really, really long. It's already testing this low, okay? So I would not get on that extended candle and get in short because it is at its low. That should be my first target, is this low. So that's a no-no for me. If it was a smaller red candle, but it was longer than this green one, say right in there somewhere, then yes, I would have taken that short if I traded a 1 hour. I would 100% taken that short. Because again, shorts should be in our favor because we have a 4-hour zone up here. Yes, eventually they'll get broke, but shorts should be in our favor, okay? I won't go down, well, we can look at a 15. So 15, nothing more than a test, double test to the top. You would have had a trend line for a 15-minute trader. As it pulled back up here, that's a real steep 15-minute candle. So you don't really have a place to draw a trend line at that time. But then when it pulls down here and gives a green candle, at that point you can kind of draw a trend line up there, and you can see that it kind of trended up to double test the top, kind of a double top formation. But we would only be looking for shorts. Again, short, 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 short. And there was your short. So this actually, you could have shorted, and then on the pullback, you could have got in again, short again. So that's something to keep in mind as you're trading, is pull profits when the market gives them to you. Okay? Don't sit all day long and see your trade go in profit and then see it go out of profit. And then by the end of the day, you're closing out in a negative, but you were in a winning trade. So close out your daily bread, get your daily goal, your daily bread, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you need to live on, whatever you've set up that you said, hey, I need to make $4,000 a month. That's a comfortable living for me. I would love to trade for a living. I've heard people doing it. I know people that do it. And you say, I need to make $4,000 a month. Okay, that's $1,000 a week, $200 a day. That's it. So, if you would have 10 lotted and it moves 30 points, well, that's 300 right there. Okay, so that's more than what you're trying to make per day. You're trying to make 200. So close out partial when it's given to you. So let's say it goes up 250. Go ahead and close out. If you put on 10 lots, go ahead and close out 8 or 9. Close out enough to lock in what you need per day to survive. You can choose to pull your stop to break even or not. So depending on where you'd get in on this bearish push. So let's say you took this red candle, because to me, you see a high, a low, that high is about the same area, and then you see a higher low, so you're like, okay, we're not ready to go bearish yet. And you see a lower high, which is a good sign. We have a lower high, but it wasn't good that we saw a higher low. So you'd have to wait. You'd have to sit out. See a couple red candles, but you'd be waiting on this low to be broke, because it needs to go below that low to know that it's going to keep going short. And it actually, the red candle pushed, so you could have got in there with your high up above this. You know, I always put my highs, don't ever put it right to the price point, because look what happened. Your runner would be stopped out. So if you got in short here, you could close out partial, have a runner on, leave your stop where it is, and then on the pullback, guess what? You can short it again. You could add to your position. And then now we've made a lower low is where it's at. So I actually was in on a 1 minute getting in. This is a 3. So right now it is making lower lows, lower highs. This is the 8:30 candle. So this is news. You know, we had news come out this morning that's what this is pushing off of. That's the catalyst that, you know, kind of gave it its little nudge, and it actually shot up for a minute and then back down. We'll look at a 1 minute real quick here. And then we've just had, you know, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. I'm bored. Let's push for a lower low. That's what you should be seeing. Nothing to get excited about. I say that trading is boring, but yet I know that when you're getting started, it is nothing but boring. When you're getting started, it's nerve-wracking. I know when I started trading, there was a bottle of Tums and a bottle of Tylenol on my desk. So every day, if I was running low, I'd go to the store and get one. It just, my stomach would be turning. This is when I went live, you know, with real money. But at the time, I funded quite a bit of money in my account. So, but trading should be boring. It should be methodical, thought out, boring, not very exciting. If it's like that, I treat it more like a business. It's a business for me. So I don't get super excited anymore, but yet I used to. So there's a lot of hype to it. Just treat it like it is. And right now we're just making lower lows, lower highs. So I'm going to hold this runner. How many I got on there? With just one left. I've only got one runner, and it's only up 70. So nothing major. So the 1 minute on the news, you know, it popped up and down real quick. That's the news candle right there. So popped up and down. This is what you don't want to be in, that little whipsaw. And I go down on the one. I saw somebody, who was it, Felix? Didn't you post out there on in the group? He dials down to the 1 minute, and he's been trading the news. And him and I, you know, have been in the discords together talking about whatever. And I believe he was down on the 1 minute and actually traded this. I think. I don't know if you traded this one. I know you traded something else. But dialing down to the 1 minute before the news. Because when the news happens, it's a short-term trade. So dialing down to the 1 minute, you could draw a trend line up there. The 1 minute time frame is the only time frame I will not include a wick. Okay, I'm looking for a smooth place to draw a trend line before news. I will also mark highs and lows. Okay, so this to me was a smooth move up, ignoring the wick. If you ignored the wick, so again, 1 minute time frame would be the only time. Dialing down, and I see this nice gentle move up. There's a wick here. I'm ignoring the wick and going, look at this. This is a nice move up on the 1 minute. And then here we are before news. It pops up a little bit. We're up above that trend line. So I say, if it breaks, I'm in. I know on the 1 minute and news trades, you typically don't want to wait for a pullback. You don't always get it. If you want an entry right there. So at that point, what I will do, and I can't really see it. I got this light in my face. What I'll normally do is come up here and get my trades ready. Okay, now I put 20 on. 20 micros. I'll get that ready before news, and I'm ready. And then I'll actually get ready to buy or sell. If we would have got a bounce there, and I do wait for 1 minute candles to close. I still don't get in right when price goes past. Okay, so you'll see where I got in. I got in down here. I waited for this candle. I did not get in on this little one right there. I waited on that one, and then bam, that's when I'm in. So that's my trade. I haven't added to the position. I didn't add to the position because I didn't want it moving. I wanted you guys to see it where it is. Because what I would have done, I put on 20, and when it popped down, and I closed partial. I closed 19 out and just left one runner. And you can see I have not moved my stop yet. My stop's still up here. We'll move it here. But my stop's still there. I did not move it. I was willing to take the risk between right here, my entry, and where my stop originally was. Willing to take the risk to lose this back on my one contract versus what I already have locked in. Okay? And going for a better run. So this is where that short-term entry, this is a short-term news entry, becomes a longer-term trade. So I don't know if this is going to trend all day short. I'd love to see it trend short. But now all I have to do is manage my stop loss. Now, I would have added to my position, like I said, when it pulled back, gave a red candle here, because here's why. On your pullbacks, that's where you're going to draw retracement lines. So as it pulls back, every time it pulls back, you're going to come in. Oop, what happened? Lost my tools. Hopefully this isn't lagging. Hopefully Sunday night then when I do the weekend analysis, this won't lag for you guys. I don't know if it is out there or not. It might be. And I'm sorry for that. I'm working on it. So that would be a retracement line. When it breaks that, add to position. Basically on the pullback. Now again, so we have a pullback, which is bullish. I like it to tell me it's going to continue short. I need to see a red candle break. So red candle break, put on another couple contracts. I could have went back in with say 10. And then when it popped down past this low, closed out. 9 of those had 2 runners on. And then we had even a deeper push, but then look at this pullback. So nice retracement. Pop on a retracement line on that. See if I can copy this, just drag it over. So pop on a retracement line up there, same thing. Because we've got the catalyst that started this all. Okay, the news. So news isn't a bad thing. It is a bad thing the first couple minutes. And it whips people out. But here's the thing. If I'm trading to make money and I get in short, it has to go short for me to make money. If I get in long, it has to go long for me to make money. Well, I don't have someone behind me just pushing. You know, like pushing my car down the road. So what better way to get that movement than off of the news releases? So you have to decide for yourself, are you going to trade news, trade part of the news, trade none of the news, wait the first 15 minutes? You know, here we are, we're hour and a half after news, and it's still channeling down. As far as drawing a trend line, this is the only drawback to trading. I love my trend lines on the higher time frame, the 4 hour. I'll use them on the 1 hour. I just know if you look right now, there is no way to draw a trend line. When you see price action, which is making higher highs and higher lows, then you use that. And I'll just show you why. A trend line is going to be broken, and it'll be broken quicker on a smaller time frame than on larger. So we're talking smaller time frame, and we're talking 3, 5, 10, 15. Let me extend that thing out. So as you look, that's been broke. Okay? So I'm looking at the highs and lows more than anything. I didn't even have a downtrend line on this, and I think you can see why. If I would have drawn a downtrend line from here to here, as I was in short and it pulled back, I'd say, okay, I'm in. Let me stack on some more. I'm going to ride this thing. Pulled down, made a low, made another lower low, pulled back. On the pullback here, aren't you thinking long? How many is actually thinking long? I know someone's got to be thinking, now that you look at that and go, if I was trading this live and that was the candle that I saw and you didn't see anything to the right of this, none of this, but you saw that green candle, wouldn't you be thinking, my trend line's broke? I need to get out of my short and possibly look for a long. I know traders think that. That's trained to trade. Well, on a 4-hour time frame, yes. On a 1-hour time frame, yes. But not down on the 1 minute. Okay? So you have to watch drawing the trend lines on a 1 minute, because it'll do just what it did here, go past a little bit, but then we make a lower low. And then you would move that trend line out. So let's move it out. And I need to look at oil in a minute, guys, because I'm on oil. So let's draw this over here. I got to make sure you guys can see my screen because I think it just went out. There it is. All right. So now we move the trend line out, or I need to. It attached to my other line. So we move it here, and then off of that, you know, that pushed us a little bit out, pushed the trend line. Well, look, it was even broken here. So again, how many would be sitting there going, oh, I got to get out now? Okay. So over here, we were already thinking, well, I need to get out and look for a long because it broke the trend line. And then it just made a lower low. You're scrambling and chasing, trying to get in. And then so then you move your trend line to this point. And then it comes and breaks it again. And you're going, oh, wait. I need to get out of my short. Look how far it's falling. I just have heard this over the years so many times. People saying, but look how far it's falling. Surely we were due for a bigger retracement. Well, maybe not yet. But it did break that trend line. So on the 1 minute time frame, I didn't even have it drawn. You have to be careful with it on a 1 minute time frame. Now, if it's trending on a 1 minute, that's great. I'll definitely draw one before news, like we had over here. Because before the news comes out, I am looking for reasons to take the trade in one direction or another. I'm looking. So I have to get set up before news. Okay? And this was what, about 8 o'clock? Something around there, 8:05, 8:06, something like that. So about 5 minutes after 8, and then before 8:30 hits over here, it had a nice, gentle push up. I love seeing that. Was able to draw a nice trend line along that. Just ignore the wick. We're on a 1 minute. Love seeing that. That's helping prepare me for the news. And then as you can see, we already had a support resistance level where it came up and tapped. I did not draw that support resistance level on this point. It was already on my chart. So pre-news, it actually had pulled down off that support resistance level. So at that point, right before news, I'm thinking, as this 1 minute candle's forming, I'm thinking, wow, we hit that support resistance level, it's pulling back. My two plans, because I need two, it's going to go up or down. My two plans are, if it breaks the trend line and gives me a bearish candle forming, and this one's not enough, that little tip of that candle. So I got in on this one. Okay. Need a bearish candle, I'm in. Because I'm not going to enter short on a green candle. I'm not going to enter long on a red candle. Can you imagine if when it pulled down here and hit this trend line, you took that long? Well, then it'd be a losing trade. So wait for a green candle. I need further signs. I need 10% more confirmation that it's going to go in my direction, and that is the candle color. So overall, my plan was get a candle to break and close past this line. I'm in short. In the meantime, if it bounces, because it was here right before news, that 1 minute that it took for this candle to form, if it bounces here and breaks this high, which is that support resistance level, well, then I'm going to get in long. Those were my two trade plans right before news. Now, I'm not looking to get in pre-news. I didn't want to put a pending order up here, and I definitely don't want to straddle pending order up here, pending order down here. because that could whipsaw you back. Spreads, you know, as the bid and ask price opens and the spread widens, it could take you out of both trades. Two losers. So right now I'm still holding, but this is why you have to be careful with the trend line. So again, trend lines on the 4 hour and 60 minute are pretty much golden. But when you draw them on the smaller time frame, you have to know that we might just get a push. So I don't know on this one. And I'm kind of moving this thing all over. So is this that we're getting right now, is it just like what we've had here? So the thing that looks different to me, we've had higher, you know, lower lows, lower highs. This was even a lower high than this one. This is a, oops, wait a minute. Not quite a lower low, is it? I mean, it's here, it's lower than this low, but we had price tap that level and pull back. And I know, and I ignore the wicks when I draw trend lines. But now we hit a price action. Price, what the bullish side and the bearish side of the market are looking at as price. So it hit that price, pulled back, and guess where we pulled to? We pulled to here. So should I look to get out of this trade? Or are we just getting a larger pullback? Okay, so it tapped near this price, that's where we're at now. If one of these candles goes up and closes above this high, well then we're seeing a higher high. And then if we see a higher low, we might see that switch in direction. So I'll pull my stop on the runner down to just better break even. And at that point, I really don't care on this trade. It's a free runner, it's going. If it sits and we trend the rest of the day down and it makes me a couple extra $100, that's great. If it doesn't, that's great too. There's no loss against the gains. So, but if I see a higher high, if it comes up, forms a higher high than this one, and then pops down to form a higher low and even test the back of this line at that point, then I would have to say we're probably bullish. And then I would close my trade. So right now I'm not, or you could choose to just close it. For me, that's just, you know, I'll just let it run. That's really nothing. Let me get off it. We'll come back and look. So here's the oil trade. I knew it had dropped because I'd been watching. So this one's up quite a bit on my runners on it. And basically, there's my trend line. Let me go to a 3. That was my trend line. And right here was 9. Yeah. No. I actually got in over here. I'm trying to think of what time I got in this. Yeah, it was this push right here that I got in on. I'm looking at my time down there. That isn't it. Yeah, it was. It was early this morning. So I got in. I actually sat through pullback on that. My stop was up here, and I don't know where my stop order is now. I need to put one in. I probably accidentally hit the stinking button on my phone. Be careful trading on your phone, guys. I don't know how many times I pulled up a chart and looked on my phone. My orders are on there just like this. And I've accidentally, that's what I think happened this morning, accidentally hit that X and closed my stop. But I've also accidentally hit this one and closed out my trade. And then I've had to get back in because I'm like, I don't think it's over. I've done that a lot. I just did it the other night because I had my phone laying next to my bed open with TradingView on it on a chart that I was in. And then I reached over to grab my phone and my hand touched the stinking X and closed out the trade. It happens. And then I had to get back in. I looked at the chart going, where's my trade? And I knew it wasn't closed out by price. So this one's good. I mean, we're golden on this one. It just dropped. But look where it dropped to. So the reason why I shorted it early was because if you look, I have a trend line here, and I originally had it drawn off these two bounces here, and it kind of creeped through that a little bit on this move. So that's what I drawn. Where it was at this morning was right here. So here's like 7:30. So that red candle is what I entered on because it pushed past this low. So I went ahead and entered on the price extension, knowing that I would probably sit through a retracement, and I actually did. So I could have waited for a retracement back, but this is a 4-hour zone. So you never know when it's going to drop. So let's say I didn't do any of that. I wasn't even up. And I come to the charting and see it's falling off the 4-hour zone again. Well, if I wouldn't have taken that, I'd missed out on this whole thing. Of course, it was news, so I'd be down on the 1 minute looking. But the 4-hour zone, it had pulled back down into and respected the top and bottom in here a couple times. Look how it banged on this top twice. And that's a 3-minute time frame. So during the 3-minute time frame, it touched the bottom, hit the top, hit the bottom, hit the top, went through past the last low. So for me, that was like, we're going bearish, even though there was news. Because what I rather do than trading right off of news, because sometimes it's nasty and you don't get an entry, I always love to get in something before news if I can, and then ride that. Because some of your brokers won't let you actually place trades at news time, but you can place a trade before news time. And if you're in a trade, you can ride the trade. So it's back at a 4-hour zone though. So it popped through this green one and then back up and back down. So right now it's playing in and out of that zone. I have some other lines on the chart here. So what I would do is actually, let's go back and look at a 5-minute, because I want to move my stop down some. I already closed out partial. So I've got like what, 318. So I could close out one more and lock in, right now $160. So again, this is totally why we're riding runners. It's for the extra. So, if you're looking for just that 200 a day and you make the 200 on the drop, and let's say you were up 200 here and you closed the whole trade out. How sick does it make you feel to your stomach that you missed this drop and where it'd be sitting now? It will. It'll get to you. Don't chase it. That's where we say don't chase it. Be in it already. So on this drop, let's say you put on 10. So you put on 10, news drops it down, and you're up, so let's say you're up 250. And you can close out 8 or 9 lots and lock in your 200 for the day. Okay? So you close out 8, you lock in 200 for a day. You have 2 runners on, and you don't miss this. Now you're up even more on a runner, 2 runners. Okay? So if you're already in the market move, don't close out all of it. Guys, I'm a 100% firm believer in this. Because how many times have you closed it all and then it keeps moving and then you decide, I think I'm going to jump in. It's still bearish. And then you jump in, like this big move down, and then you say, man, it's still bearish, and you jump in and then bam, it pulls back and hits your stop. Okay, but you were already in way over here. So let your runners go, give them room. You got to give them room to breathe. If you choose to trail them tight, that's fine. Take what it gives you as you trail. So right now this is just a runner. It's just a little extra, and then I'll probably take from wherever I lock in on this. Since this is extra, well, then I can use it to trade news on Monday, or use it to trade. So let's say you don't do platinum, but you see a good setup on platinum. You've never traded platinum, but you have, let's say 300. Let's say I close it all out now. I have 300 bonus that I can use that's above what I need to survive. It's above my weekly paycheck amount. This is a bonus. So I can use it next week if I see good setups to get in something I may not trade. Or you could just cash out the bonus. It's up to you, but this is how it's your business. Everybody's different. I know someone going to take that $300 and go to the beach. You know, whatever. Go out and get a good steak dinner, couple of them, depending on where you live and what restaurant you have. So it's up to you what you do with that money. So for me, I have an amount that I need to bring in each week. I need to meet I have to have a monthly paycheck. That's my goal. That is my first and primary reason for trading. That is the first thing I have to take care of in my business. In my trading business, I have got to get my daily goal met. I have to. That's my goal. I have to go out and get the money. If I wasn't day trading, if I was working construction, guess what? I'd have to get up and go clock in and work for 8 hours. That's how I'm going to get my money, my daily money. If you work in an office, you're going to go in and do your TPS reports. Probably a bad joke. I don't know how many will get that. But you're going to go into the office and you have to work for 8 hours. And guess what? At the end of the week, you get a paycheck. Or at the end of the month, you get, your 4 weeks' pay. Bi-weekly check. Doesn't really matter. But at the end of each week, you're going out. Your job is to go out, work in the office, or work on the construction site, or a restaurant, or whatever you do. But your job is to go out, and for 8 hours, you go out and work, and you get a paycheck. So for me, it's I sit here and get a paycheck. And do I need to be here 8 hours? No. Guys, you don't. I mean, I already locked in from that move down my daily goal. And plus I was in gold and locked in some there. Gold and oil are the first two things I look to trade every day. It's gold and oil for me. And then if I get in some and I'm riding, well, then I'll go to ES and platinum. Those are typically my next two. I love to get to ES, and that's the thing. If I can get into gold and oil before 9:30, and I was in oil, I was in gold before 9:30 when the U.S. stock market opens. Well, then the U.S. stock market opens, I'm looking at ES. But I typically will already have runners like today on gold and oil. I just have to manage those runners. Well, then I'm on ES looking for an entry. And if I can get into that too, then great. And then I'll switch over to platinum. Now, platinum I'll look at along with everything else first thing in the morning. So I'm looking at that as well. Those are the four that I typically look at: gold, oil, platinum, and ES every morning, 4-hour time frame, 60-minute, 15. And then I'll go from there because I love trading platinum now, thanks to someone that's gotten me hooked on it out there. So I love trading that. So those are the four I look at in the first thing in the morning. And then if it's set up and it's near one of those zones and I see it making, if it's in the lower zone and I see it making lower lows, lower highs, well, then I'm looking to trade. So I need to find a level. All right. I still got markings from, what was that, yesterday? So this is when we were talking yesterday's live. So yesterday's live, we were over here and we talked about entering, putting your order in, and look what it did. I don't know how many traded that. But basically, we were looking for it to go to the 4-hour zone. It actually went back through. So let me pull those off. And these are lines we marked from yesterday. That's why I had to come back and look because, ooh, I see a good one. Does anybody see a good line on there? Good place to... I hope you guys see it. You gotta see it. All right. So as I'm looking, I see this area over here, this consolidated sideways movement that, when it finally broke and tested, it just shot up from there. Okay, so I see that level, and to me, that's a stronger level than the other markings, that one right there. So this one is just off that little bump up and down, then it was easily broken. This one is off that low, where we were looking for a bounce. So I'm taking those off. They're not even valid anymore. And then I'm also going to take off this line from yesterday. I'm going to start leaving my lines on from day to day. So as I go back in and do the live, you can see what happened the day before. So to me, as I look back, this is my valid level. Okay, now I don't want to put it on the underside of it. Okay, so as Free Cash Friday, exactly. So as I look to draw these lines, I don't want to put my line under it because I know this is a high point. This is a price point, okay, that has acted as resistance over here, and that's what I need over here. So my stop is going to be not right at that price level. I never do that right there. I've seen people, oh, it took me out and then went short. It just barely took me out and then went short. Okay? And I don't like that. Don't barely take me out and then keep going. So I'd rather move it here. I'm actually, and I kind of almost don't like it because of where that bounce is here. It popped up and then came back to test, but that's where I'm going to move it. I'm hoping that this right here holds up as support resistance for me. So I'm just going to tag that as a support and resistance level. And that is going to be what I move my stop off of right now. Now, if it keeps moving short, okay, let me go back down to 3 so you can kind of see what's happening. And we see how it's acting to that 4-hour zone. It dropped below, still off the news catalyst, pulled back to test it, pulled down, higher low. We did make a higher high. You don't like that it's playing with the 4-hour zone, but it has to find that middle ground. Okay, between the bullish side of the market, the bearish side of the market. So when it gets to the 4-hour zone, unfortunately, the 4-hour zone is not like a brick wall. It is not a brick wall that it's going to come down through one time, hit it, nail it, and go. Sometimes that happens, but not always. So unfortunately, with the 4-hour zones, you will see a teeter on that, on the smaller time frame. Now, if you look at the bigger candles, you see a different picture. So right now, it looks like we're getting a push. So for me, and I'm on a 10-minute now. Am I? No, I dialed back down to a 3. We were on a 10. But for me, if it breaks this level right here, that's what I'm looking for now as it's pushing down. If it comes and breaks through that level, well, then it's making a lower low. It has to blow through this first and go down and make a lower low. Okay? So that's what I'm looking for. So technically right now, I could move my stop off of this level, off that high. But we're so close to that support and resistance level, I'm going to leave mine there. So if it goes through right now, if I see, that's where my stop's got to stay. That's where I'm saying that's it. I have to stay there. What am I at? Like 360. So the stop's a little bit more than halfway back. So let's say I only lock in like 170 off this. I'm fine with that. It is what it is on the runners. But I'm going to leave it on in case it blows through this low. Because if it blows through that low, well, then it's making a lower low. And we know it's going to come back off the lower low. Once it's made a lower low, we know it has to come back. It comes back up. And let's say in here somewhere, or even here, or mid-zone, it starts turning and makes a lower high. Well, then we're still in a bullish move. And we're already at, what, 10 o'clock? So we're already 2 hours in. 8 o'clock is when I start looking for trades. Okay, so right now we're holding. We'll come back and check it. But we're holding it, and then we need to really see what happens here. So right now it is at that, what do we got left? I don't know, we got 45 seconds. No, we got a minute 45. So we got a minute and a half for this candle to close. And we won't wait on it. But that's what we're looking for. We need to see what it does here. Is that it? Is it not going to go past this level? I want to see it blow past that level. And then I know in my mind, so once it blows past that, that's validation that it is going to make a lower low. At some point, it may shoot down like this and then make its lower low. I don't know how far it's going to go. But all I know is if a candle closes below this, technically, that's a lower low. Now, I don't want to see it barely close past it. I'd rather see it close on past it quite a bit, because that tells me that these price levels are not holding the bearish side of the market back. Because right now I'm watching this candle play, and I'm going, okay, is that price point holding the bearish market off? Are we hitting that price point where we're going to reject off of and get kind of a double tap here and then go up? And then if it goes up and blows through the zone and makes a higher high than this one, well, then we're seeing a market shift. I don't want to see that because I'm in short. So my bias is short right now. And right now, the market's telling me it's short. It's done nothing but push down, made a lower high, but now we need to see the lower low. I'd really like it to pop. We got 7 seconds, so it's going to barely close under it maybe, or right at it. We'll watch it. We got like one. There it is. So yeah, did I call it or what? It barely closed below it. I hate that. I hate that. I'd rather seen it go down. Technically, do you call that a lower low than this? It's right around the same price point. So you got to be careful with that. So it could sweep back up. It's right around that price point. So I still want to see it push down. So for me, I'm not even calling that a lower low. But once we get this lower low swing, hopefully it'll pull down and go a little lower and then come up. And then we see a lower high. Well, then if I get a lower high in here, okay, and a high forms, it starts pulling down off of that, well, then at that point, I can move my stop down in the middle of this area between these two support resistance levels, okay? So that's kind of what I'm thinking on oil as we're already in it. And ES. So ES is just doing its thing. I mean, it's still in between those two zones. Is all it's doing. So this was yesterday. This is yesterday afternoon. We had a huge push off that, and it basically tapped the zone. Again, we're looking at price along with our trend lines. This is an old 4-hour up trend line here. That's an old one. That's why it's dashed, but it's a 4-hour, old 4-hour trend line. And this was Wednesday about 6 o'clock. So Wednesday, that 6 p.m. candle, it basically pulled down, almost tapping that line, and then we saw a nice bullish push back through the zone and then moved up to this other zone. That right there, these 3 candles, I don't like that this wick is there. If that wick was not there, I'd call that a morning star. So, but with the wick there, I'm kind of hesitant to call it a morning star. It would look beautiful if that wick wasn't even there. You know, those 3 candles as a morning star. That would be an ideal looking morning star. But they pan out off higher time frames. You know, the 4-hour and 1-hour. So, but basically it moved right to the zone, tested the top, and then we saw a push off that, and then it turned right here. Now I've got I can see this line. I've got the line drawn from in the middle of this candle here. So if we go to a smaller time frame, we can look and see why I attached it there. Because I didn't just attach it in the middle of a 4-hour candle. That's not why it's there. So I had to have a reason. So as we dial down the smaller time frame, it's going to be off highs and lows of resistance, okay? But basically, it pulled down. If you look at the candle closes on these candles in the open of the green, well, it was right there. It was right at that price point. So bearish market pushed it down to our tap our zone, 4-hour zone, but closed above that price level. This candle here opened and then went down past, but closed above it. So this one opened, and then we saw a move off that. So a nice bullish candle. All right. Glad to have you here, Mark. And basically, we saw a bullish push off that. And again, on the smaller time frame, you're looking for higher highs, higher lows. Okay, because on the 4 hour, you're saying, man, it's right above that support and resistance level. But I don't trade on the 4 hour. Don't take my entries off that. I can do that if I see a trend line break. But the bounces, can you look at this right here? So these are 4 hour candles. So if this came up and touched our zone, and you were thinking, I'll short that if I see a 4 hour candle bounce off there. Well, you missed it. Okay, same over here. Pulls up, hits the top of the zone, pulls down, and you're saying, man, if I see a 4 hour candle close below this zone line, I'm in. I'm short. Well, you're in a little late. You wouldn't want to get in off that. Same over here. Pulled to the top of the zone, and you said, I'm going to be a 4 hour trader. I want to get in. When I see a red candle, form up here near the top of it, well, you missed it. You missed them all. Okay? Because you're trying to get in on a 4 hour. So 4 hours is a little tricky. If you're trying to get in like this, you're missing all these drops. You're missing all the movement. Now here would have been okay. If I see green candles pop and one closes above the zone because we're back in, I'm in long. That one was okay. This one, you kind of missed it. You would have got half the move would be over. That's where we're in on the smaller time frame to take your entries. And I think most people are like that. So, oh, okay. See, I didn't know your real name, Mark. Now I do. Now you're in trouble. So right now it's pushed back up. So right now on ES, as we dial down, we're thinking, well, we're back up near the highs. Now, we drew these two lines over here off of this, okay? And then even this right here. This was drawn, when did I draw? This was like last night or something. Oh, this was Wednesday. So this was the push on Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday push that we had up. And when it popped to our 4 hour zone, guess what? It held up as resistance. And then we saw a huge push down. Now, entering on trendline break, you're still missing that. We're on a 1 hour. So you would have missed this move and have to wait for retracement to get in short. Well, that's what we got right here. So when you're on the higher time frames, you see bigger sweeps, a bigger high, bigger low, bigger swings, bigger highs and lows, bigger swings. But then sometimes you'll get the big candles during that 1 hour, and then you miss the whole move. So I think that's why most people are down, whether you're on a 15. I like using the 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15 for my analysis. So if you used a 15-minute break of a trend line, well, then you're on that. You would have gotten that and got part of the move. If you waited for a pullback up into here, we didn't get it. So you missed the move. So this is when I talked to you guys about going in light. So let's say you trade with 10 contracts. If you see a good break, strong break of a trend line, and you normally wait for a retracement to get in with your 10 contracts, but you don't want to miss it in case it just breaks and runs, you could get in light. I don't recommend getting in with your full 10 because now you're risking where your stop should be way up here. Okay? And let's say, it breaks and pulls back and then gives you a red candle. You say, okay, I'm in with 10, my stop's up here. That to me is a great trade. Pulls back here, gives a red candle bounce off these levels. These are 4 hour levels, 4 hour top, and then the inside top of that top. So if it pulled back and bounced off that red candle, boom, I'd be in. And that'd be 100% trade setup. Stop would have to be above the previous high, which is right here. I'd be in on that with the full 10. Now, if you get in here, I'm not putting in a full 10. You shouldn't put in because your stop still needs to be up here, technically, in case it pulls back and test that. Because you don't want to see it. If you put your stop in tight, if you got in on this candle, put your stop in tight, and it pulled back, I could see it pulling back to that level and maybe turning, you're stopped out. And then you miss this. the rest of the move. So if you do choose to get in on the break like that, go in lighter. Go in lighter because your stop technically is back here. So if you go in, say, with 2 contracts or 4, see what that risk is. If it pulls back here, you get in with 10. And this is what you need to think to yourself. Hey, if this pulls back, you know, you're watching a 15-minute candle form. So while it's forming, you have 15 minutes to make these decisions. It's broke a trend line. You say, you know what? If it pulls back up to here, then I'm going to get in. Once I get a red candle, get a nice pullback red candle, I'm going to get in short with my stop here. How much risk is that? Calculate it, figure it. How much risk are you putting up, dollar-wise? Okay. Then you have to say to yourself, okay, as this candle keeps pushing down here, now you're like, wow, it's really pushing. I don't think I want to miss the move in case this is a break and run. But my stop still technically needs to be up here. So how many contracts can I put on and still only have the same amount of risk on my trade? You've already calculated if it pulls back and you're going to risk whatever it is. Let's say it's $500. So 10 contracts, let's say, I'm not doing the math here. I'm not calculating. I'm just throwing numbers out. But let's say it comes back and you say, man, if it comes back, pulls back, I'm going to put my stop here. It'll be about a $500 risk. But now you're looking at it as this candle pulls further and you're going, okay, if this is a break and run, I don't want to miss it because I know my target. Main target's down here, the zone. So you have to say to yourself, how far back is the stop? It's here. Calculate that and go, I can only put 3 on. That's it. Same $500 risk on the trade, but I can only put 3 on. Then do that. Do not put on your full 10 because you're risking more, because your stop should not be right behind your order. Okay? You let the market tell you where to put stops. It's highs and lows. Guys, this is a nice, on a 15-minute, you'll learn to see these overall. This is actually a nice head and shoulders pattern. This last push up here pushes up. This is the left shoulder. Comes down, you get a neckline. This is the head. Comes down and gets your neckline, and then your right shoulder. And then we just saw it nice. Now, on a smaller time frame, they don't hold up as well as they do on larger. But basically, all we're looking at there is we see a high, low, higher high, higher low, but then a lower high. And that basically is how a head and shoulders. It's just a pattern that you see, but it's basically, that's all we're looking at, highs and lows. And then it breaks past the neckline. You normally will draw there's a tool in here to draw a head and shoulders pattern. I don't think I have it up. Yep, here it is. I'll draw it on real quick. So this is a nice tool to use. I mean, it labels them for you. Basically, there's our... Now watch what it does. As I come down and we find our low point, it actually draws a line, a neckline. So it draws a neckline across there. And technically, if it breaks that neckline, you may see it pull short further. And of course we did. Pulls clear down here. So that's how the head and shoulders, but we're already looking at that. We're not looking specifically for head and shoulders, but that's what we look at. We look at highs and lows, but that's what highs and lows will look like when you see a shift in direction. So again, go lighter on the trade. So it did pull down, and that's what we're pulling back off of. So basically we had a sweep high and then a higher low, and then over here, I'm hesitant to call that a higher high. It is a high based on the swing, but we're using wicks on the higher time frame. So for me, it has to break this point. Okay, and that point was broken right here. And that would be an entry. So it pulls up, whether it be there or over here, and you close partial. But right now it's on the move back up, and we just hit the 4-hour zone. So I'm not messing with this at all right now to get in. And we're already, what are we, about 45 minutes into the U.S. stock market. So I'm not looking to get in this unless, and I don't know. I would love to see a better swing than this. Sometimes they just look messy. And you have to say to yourself, I'm not getting in on messy. Are you getting in on messy situation? Here's the news on it. So right there's the 830 candle. We just saw a sweep low. It found some support here, right in this area. Found some support, popped up, popped back down to it. You'll see bigger swings. So ES, NQ, YM, you know, you have to decide if you're going to trade those or not. I don't trade these during news. I'll do gold and oil. But if you come back and look, and this is what you have to do pre-market. This is what you should be doing before you sit down and trade. Okay? Is this right here. So this is from what? This is from last Friday. No, I'm sorry. That's from earlier. That's pre-news. So that's before news. Find the lows and highs and mark them out, because those are areas where, so you would mark out these two lows before news, and you would look for a couple highs. Well, then the news release happens. See, we're still lagging. We get a pop up, and then it popped down. Well, where did it pop to? It popped to this first low and kind of held up. And we're on 3 minute. So it kind of held up, made a lower high, pushed on down, but look, it turned right at that price point. And then, oh, even over here, even here, these wicks. So even after pulling up off this, it pulled down to test that price point. Gave a higher high than over here, but pulled clear back down to test that. Okay, so right now for me, those are big kind of sloppy candles, and I don't want to get involved in that. So it's something I'd say, well, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on ES. But if it gets up to a zone, which it's right at the inside top 4 hour, that's a 4 hour line. That's a 4 hour line. If I start to see it turn in there, well, then I might get in. But I want to see a good setup. I don't just want to get in because prices hit that point. I would rather see the back and forth battle between the bullish side of the market and the bearish side of the market form and give me a nice, decent, you know, higher highs and higher, or lower lows, lower highs in this case, for sure. Because it could pull clear back up to the upper zone, which is the yellow. But overall, that's where we're at. We're just right between those two zones. So we just keep playing that. It popped down a little bit here, but it popped right to our 4 hour, our old 4 hour uptrend line. And that's one I left on the chart because it was respected quite a bit if we zoom back. I mean, you see a big, huge, we had this nice pull up, nice bear or bullish move. We saw a huge pullback here, and it turned right there and went back up. Okay, and even broke this high. That huge move right there, that's where I originally drew this line. It was over here, but however, drew the line from here to here, and it was extended. Okay, it was respected here. This didn't quite get to it. Briefly respected here. It pulled down, another good size move, pulled down, tapped it, and went back up, and then pulled down through it. So that originally then, that line was broken. That's when I turned it into a dashed line instead of my 4 hour line. And then we still have this main one. This is our main, one of our main 4 hour uptrend lines. Okay, and then when it pulled down and turned here, and I was not surprised that it turned here, but I didn't have a trend line. This trend line wasn't there. This trend line was drawn off of this first point here to the second point here. This trend line was only drawn when it came down and turned. But why was I not surprised that it fell there or stopped there, turned there? Well, because I had a zone. I'm always looking for support and resistance levels. So my main one was right here. I actually thought it might push to this one. But because that's off this swing. This nice swing down, nice swing up. You better believe I had a zone there. And I thought it might push there. But as it dropped, I'm looking for another area where it might not fall to this zone. What's in the way of that as far as price level? And this was it. So that was already on there. So when it turned there and popped up, well, boom, now we draw a trend line. And it was a solid line. I'm only dashing that one because of this right here. This is my main one. I don't want to get this one confused with the main trend line. So that's my main outer trend line. So right now, and you don't have to make this dash if you want, because right now this is a major player. This is our major line. All right. But overall, we're in that upper zone. So I'm going to trade it back and forth. I'm not going to miss out. Again, got to make money every day. Need a paycheck at the end of the month. So if it's in these zones, I love them. Are you kidding me? Between two zones, and we have the bottom of the zone, the upper. I hate that this broke. Actually, this was a sweep. I think we took some of this. Somebody did. I don't remember if I was. Guys, I can't remember all my trades. I remember the platinum one from the other day because it popped clear from a upper to lower and blew through that one. So, yeah, I remember that. But these little intradays back and forth, I don't always remember. It's basically, if it pulls back down to the green zone, we're looking to buy. If it pulls up to the yellow zone, we're looking to sell. These are all-time highs in here. So you want to trade that. There is no reason why you cannot make your daily money, the money you need to survive each day, trading that short and that long. Short and long. Short and long. Just get it. Get in there and get it. Oh, I wonder if that's stopping my... Sorry, I got hotkeys on this YouTube thing, and I think it's stopping. So NQ, I'm not in this. I might look to get in it. So let me go out to the 4 hour. So 4 hour time frame, we got zones. We're in between an upper and lower. We always have an upper lower. That's a mid zone that's on there, the yellow. And that is basically off of this sweep high right here. Swept up, swept down. Okay, so that's what that line's from, or zone's from. The other zone's up here, from this sweep up and down. Looking for a 4 hour bounce. Looking for a 4 hour turn in the market. That's a good price area for things to turn in the future. It turned here, okay, so it's a good price level for me to mark as far as a place where it might turn in the future. Same here. Now, we've been wavering on this. I mean, it's been back and forth. So we saw it break our downtrend line over here, okay? And we talked about this the other day. It pulled up, tested it, boom, you could get in. But trade it to the zone. Trade it to the previous high. Leave runners on. You may have had runners on, may not. Even after that pushback, probably not. Okay? But when it breaks through the top of the zone, well, where's it going to go? You have to know, we don't know 100% that it's going to go clear up here. But the odds are in our favor if we look out and say, you know what, that's my target. Because that is where it targeted here. This move up here, it hit that price level and turned. So again, we're looking at reasons why. First, we're looking for where it may go. That tagged an area where it may go. That's our zone. And then we're down on smaller time frame looking for higher highs, higher lows, and you're in. Okay, but the main target is the red zone. And then once you're up there, you're targeting, once you see lower lows, lower highs, target the bottom one. And if it breaks, then we target this one. When it's sloppy like this, it's not great. I mean, a 4 hour time frame, that candle closed right here below it. This candle tested it, and it just pulled back through. Okay, so that to me, again, if a 4 hour trader broke that, which I wouldn't because we actually have a trend line here that's up. So to short that would be a short-term trade. okay, because we have a uptrend line right here. But basically right now where it's at, so here over here we saw it do what? Big red candle break is 4-hour zone. Big red candle will also break a trend line. Big red candle, signal short. But we wait for a pullback. So every time now it's hit that zone, I would look to short. Short, short. Over here, another short. And that is a good morning star, or evening star, sorry. So that's technically an evening star, but all we've done is pull back off that. So right now, are you getting in short? I don't know, let me see. It is NQ. So right now, you could technically look to trade this short. I don't like, and this is part of the battle with NQ. It is rough. It's not easy to trade, and it's definitely not easy to draw trend lines on. So let's say we pick this lower point, and it came down and formed this low right here, and you drew your trend line. Well, look at what it's done since. Someone would have shorted that, or even waited for a pullback and shorted it. Okay, but it's had a major pullback. So it's not really trader friendly. Let's just call it that. Call it what it is. You moved your trend line over here. You said, okay, it kind of broke a little, got in short, it pulled up, took a loss. Let's move or stop there. Okay, well now it looks like it's bounced up. So you might have been in long. Back up here to the zone. That's your target. And if you were in long, you stayed in that. But then here, candle broke below. Do you get out of that? Some traders got out of that, might have even taken a short, target down here, and then it pulled back up. So it closed above. So that's where I like to see when it breaks a trend line like this, especially on 10-minute we're on. I don't like to see a small little candle break. I'd rather see a longer candle, and then I'd rather see a pullback. Well, we didn't get that. So I would not have shorted that. But I can almost guarantee that some people did. But again, we're talking NQ. So it is not trend line friendly. I'm telling you right now. That's why I tell people when they want to learn or they want to trade some of the indices, I'd rather see them trade ES, YM. You know, those would be my go-tos over NQ. NQ is kind of a widowmaker. And look what it's done over here. So it's just played with that trend line. So can I call that a trend line? I mean, it's trending up. My line don't look that great on it. So if you're going to do, and I don't want to bring other indicators into play, but there's things you can use that aren't as rigid as a trend. I mean, a trend line's a straight line. It's going to get broke. Eventually, it has to get broke. Okay? And you can see why as price teeters on. So that's why on NQ, it is more price action based than trend line, 100%. So unfortunately on NQ, you can try and, I have outer trend lines on it. So if we go to a 4-hour, you bet. I mean, I'm going to have the main 4-hour trend lines because 4-hour price typically will bounce on those trend lines. Okay, kind of like we saw over here. This trend line was drawn off that high to this high. That's it. That point to that point originally. And then it popped through a little bit here. So I moved it out to the top. But that was drawn from there to there. And basically it bounced right at that level. So a 4-hour trend line being respected. I can go with that. I love seeing that. That's great. Over here, the 4-hour was broken and tested. Love seeing that. 4 hours, great. So 4-hour trend lines on NQ, ES, YM, yes. But not so much when you get down to the smaller time frames. And that's just because they don't trend nicely. I've rarely seen NQ trend nicely. Okay? You'll see them here and there, but you get a lot of this stuff in here. You get a lot of sloppy. So that's why if there's someone new that wants to trade, I just try and steer them away, guys. It's not that I'm wanting to keep NQ all to myself. It is one of the last things I get in. I will get into platinum before this. Okay? And I know some traders that's all they trade is NQ. And that's great. But they're trading price action. They are not doing anything else. And I'm telling you now, that's it. The one guy you guys have heard me talk about, and that's all he trades. It's based off price action because that's what it's based on. U.S. stock market, open and movement. So the bots trading, the market makers, that's what's moving the thing. So not trend line friendly. So you got to kind of drop them on the smaller time frame. The 4 hour and 1 hour, I've still looked to draw trend lines. But other than that, it's pretty much zone based. Just your upper zone, your lower zone. And that's what you need to kind of trade off of. So right now it's up near that upper zone. And we had a couple bounces. So we had, after it broke through the upper zone, we've had some decent bounces on that. You got to kind of ignore the up and down. A little up and down in here. It's just the way NQ moves. So we're kind of ignoring the up and down in here. What we want to see is it hit the zone and came down and made a low. It hit the zone up here, kind of double tapped this level, came back down and made a little lower low. So it's tried. It tried to pull off. Come up here, hit mid zone again. I mean, you look at this swing, it's basically right at this price level of these two swings. And then it finally broke down and went. Finally. And then turned high, and then a higher low, and then boom, it shot back up where? To our zone. Well, look at these highs. Look at both those. It's price. It pulled right back to the price. Okay? So that needs to be a level that you're aware of. It has to be. It's an important price level to the market. So if that is an important price level to the market, well then I need to be aware of that price. It needs to be an important price level for me. Okay? And I am going to mark this as a 4 hour. So basically support and resist zone, 4 hour. I like them all caps. I don't know. Sorry. All right. So support and resistance level off the 4 hour, or I'm calling it 4 hour. It's not really 4 hour, but it's in my 4 hour zone. Okay. So because this is within my 4 hour zone, I'm going to label it 4 hour. Okay. Because it's within my 4 hour zone. So NQ came up, tested this price point within the 4 hour zone, came up, tested again, came up, tested again. Big swing down, big swing up, tested it twice before moving back down again. So I have to be aware of that price level on NQ. There's really no trend lines. I'm more aware of the price than anything else. So to me, if it gets back up to the price, I'm going to short it. Other than that, it is sloppy right now. So will it go short? I don't know, and I'm not probably going to trade it. But yes, off of this where we're at right now, this level I have marked, it's kind of the inside swing here. If you look over to the left, there's more reasons why. It's right at that price. So can it go short right now? Yes. But this one gets a lot of liquidity sweeps. It will sweep high before it pops low, especially if you're down on a smaller time frame. So I just don't. It's one of the last things I get in, guys, because of that reason right there. You just have to look at them. And that's something I recommend if you're trying to decide on what to trade. Go out to the 4 hour, 15 minute, whatever you take trades on, and look at the charts together. Take a big snapshot of each one. We didn't go over platinum because I was on gold. And we need to look back in our old trade. So there's platinum, and earlier it dropped, and I just wasn't in it. So I'm not chasing it. And yep, we missed it, or I did. I know some people that did not miss it. So basically it was back up at the, as you can see, I didn't delete all my trade lines. I'm trying to leave some of those on as I take stuff so you guys can see what we did the first day and then the second, since we're already in some stuff. I just did a zone. I just deleted my zone. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that. But for now, I'm just going to kind of tag it off here, because basically it was up there somewhere. I don't know the top. I'll have to go back out and look. But basically, just ignore that. That's probably not the right zone. We would have to go back and look, because I think it was back in here that I drew that zone off of. Let me look and see. And I'm going to have to go out and price match the points, because I hate that I just deleted that. So I'm going to leave it right there at that, because I know that the top or the bottom was around these candle moves, and we're still getting a push, guys. So this was a good 4 hour, break through a zone, push to the next, pull back up, turned right out of zone, gave it a push off, and really failed to go the distance, turned, come back up, tested the bottom of the zone, even wicked up above, but the bullish side of the market won out, or the bearish side of the market won out, and held it down, and then and pushed it down. So another push to that price level, this level here, which was, that's what I was trying to delete, these little arrows, which is this line right here, basically off that low. So this red candle closed right to that, and then the new candle, the bullish side, took it back up to the zone, okay, and then popped down. And here's the thing, if you wanted to take that off a 4 hour candle short, your stop should be above the high. It's way up there. Technically, that's where it should be. You need to keep it out of the way. And it did push up to the top or the bottom of the zone. So that's why most people don't trade 4 hour. Technically, stop should be out there. What was that? Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Is that right? Oh, thank you. All right. They just said Control Z will undo your delete. You don't know how many times I've accidentally deleted zones. I need to lock them. You can come in and lock these things, and that's what I should do. But I think I can still delete it if I hit it. I'm almost positive I can delete it if it's locked. Yeah. So Control Z fixes that if you accidentally delete something. All right. Awesome. Thanks for that. See, you learn something new every day. But then after it closed, like I said, this candle, bullish side of the market, pushed it up, tested the bottom of the zone, and then went on. But it went right to this SR level, support resistance level, and then we've seen a good push. Where to? Well, this is our target. This is our zone. So it's a price level off of a swing that's down here. A nice sweep down and up. That's our price level. It may get down to there and may not go further. Now, I see where it's turned or where it stopped. And you guys have heard me. I don't normally teach on the inside tops and bottoms. Basically, you guys have seen stuff where if we're making higher highs and lows on a low swing, in order for it to be a higher low, guess what? It has to close higher than this one. All right? So again, in order for this to be a higher low, it has to close higher than this one. That means it needs to turn somewhere before getting clear down here. So sometimes where they turn, if you look to the left, you see the inside of this turn. And that's what's called inside tops and bottoms. Okay? And it's not rocket science, and it doesn't always turn right there, not to the price level. But to me, I see where we're at now, and I look here to the left, and I see this red candle. And to me, I can see just by looking at the chart. So once you get to where you've been doing this a long time, you see that, hey, if I mark that a horizontal line there, that's probably where it's hit. Okay? And then mark that and just know that that is probably why it's turned there. And that's why I say don't ever put your target or your main target, especially if you're using limit orders, right to a price. I would never set a take profit, and you guys know I don't use them anyways. I manage manually, but you would never set it right to a top of a support and resistance line. Never set it at a zone like right there, because I don't know if it's going to get there. It may turn short. So right now, that may be, it definitely hit the inside of this low, the inside bottom. So that is your first kind of, I guess, secondary target. I don't know what you want to call it. That's not the main target. The main target's the zone. But that may be, that's an area of interest where it may turn there. So right now, though, it is technically lower than this one. So we might see a good, it could just push through the zone. We might see a pullback on that. We'd have to dial it down from there. But basically, that's what we're doing, just trading these zones. I did not, again, I didn't get in on this one. Let's go down to the 15. Did anybody get in this one this morning? And there's news right there. No, yeah, the lock did not prevent me from deleting. All right, so there's 8:30 candle. So it pushed off that. We had a low basically breaking these candle lows, either that candle or this one, to get in. So I'm not in it. But it did give a nice break in here. After news, settled in for a while. And then this nice red candle basically popped to the previous low over here. And that was about 8:55. Another candle push. This one right here technically broke all this low in here. So this is your nice push down, turn, and then sweep. Because in here we had, and I'm on a 5 now, we had a high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Okay, right back to the zone. And that was right before news. So right before news, boom, it's set up right at the zone. That's the 8:30 candle. Tapped the bottom, back to tap the zone, just where you wait a few. And then you're waiting on two things. So to me, there's two things I would do. One would be a trend line here, and this is pre-news. Okay, so I would draw one there. I'm not going to label, I wouldn't label it green. I'd label it yellow because that's like, I'm just drawing it in case news breaks it. And then the other area of price would be here. This would be an area of price. Okay, so we have our retracement line because all it's doing, it broke through a 4-hour zone. So right now it's retracing up to a 4-hour zone. I need to be aware of that. And then ultimately, it has to break this price before I say we're making a lower low and I'm going to get in. Okay. So if there is enough room in here to get in and take partial, I would get in on a trend line break off of news, knowing that if that's all it goes is to this low, I could close partial. If there's not enough room for me to close partial in here and protect my, because that protects me, that protects my trade. If I were to get in on this break right here, technically my stop needs to be above this high. Okay, well, what's the distance in there? Let's say you normally put on 10 lots. Well, this is a news trade for one. Are you still putting on 10 on news? Nope, I'm putting on half. On news, I'll only put on half. That's what you say to yourself. Okay, well then the stop's up here. Do you still put on half? Do you still put on 5? Nope, not doing that either. That stop's a little too far out for me. I'm risking too much. So I'm only going to do 2. And I know you're not doing 10 on platinum, but just pretend like these are micros. This is an example. But that's how you have to treat that with deciding how many contracts to put on. So now you're only putting 2 on. Is this enough right here, room, that you can close out one of them and get a decent profit and maybe move your stop down? I wouldn't move it down to entry, it's too tight. but maybe you move it down off here, okay? Or maybe move it down off this level here that I've drawn. So yes, I could pull one right there, and if it comes back, I'm okay. I'll just leave my stop where it is. Or I'm going to move my stop above this line. And I'm okay with that on the last one, on my runner. Now, if you pulled tight to break even, guess what? This little guy right here took you out. That's why you can't pull to break even so fast. You need to make a swing low, swing high, and then move to break even. Because for me, I wouldn't have even moved to break even here. But if you would have, your order be there, this would not have taken you out, but could have. So we had a low formed, a high formed, and then a low formed. Well, then as it's pushing here, this candle starts pushing down, then move your stop to a break even or above this high. Okay. So yeah, we've had to push. I knew MC would be in this thing. I am not. Well, let's go back. I have no idea where we're at in gold. We're still in. And again, here's your trend line. That's just why you can't always use trend lines, not on the smaller time frame. I want to go down to a 3 just to see what it looks like. So we've had a pullback to the support and resistance line. Again, I'm using more price on the lower time frame because look at this trend line. Again, this trend line over here was broken. The backside test right here. This is a perfect example why you can't always use trend lines on the smaller time frame. Because again, they're linear. Well, the market doesn't move linear. The market moves in swings up and down. It moves based on price between the bullish side of the market and the bearish. So I love trend lines, but again, higher time frame. The 4-hour, 60-minute is the base for trend lines. 15 is fine too. But when I'm down on the smaller time frame, I will draw them when I get in. But when they break them, you can't be quick to bail. And this is why right here. It broke 3-minute. We're taking trades on. Broke through. Some people probably on that candle right there said, you know what? It broke this price high. And it broke my trend line. And it double bounced here, double bottomed here. I'm getting in long. Well, it better be light, not your full 10. It just should be. It should be light, riskier. You're getting in just off of that. That's not enough information for me. Let it pull back and test. So it pulls back and makes a technically higher low right here. Some people took that one. Okay? And then again, you have a new price point here that isn't broken. So a little riskier. There's not enough room right here. Is there enough room from that entry to that high to take partial? Nope. All right, I'm not getting in. And then it pulls back here. And this is news. So I don't, or no, that's 10 o'clock, 10:03, 10 o'clock, somewhere here. So it pulled back down to test this level again and popped back up. Then it finally broke the high. But this is a 3-minute candle. It closes red. So we're not in still. We didn't get in here because it was a break. Or you got in light and then it pulled back on you. And depending on where you put your stop, you're probably taken out here. Okay? Never being able to pull profit. That's why you have to go in light. That's, you know, wait for a test. Came back and test. Pulled up here. This one closed. Is there enough room to profit from there to there on closing partial? Because that may be the only place it gets to is that high. Nope, not enough room. All right, then I'm passing. If it breaks that high, that's a great signal. It came here, bounced here, gave a green candle. Do I get in long? If there's not enough room, I'm not full contracting that. So do you either get in light with your stop loss, should be below here, and then you can always add if it breaks here, if a candle closes above that, which we never got. So it would have been a small loser if that was you and you got in there, because eventually it comes here to hit your stop. Small loser. Now, if this was enough to profit from here and while price was there, depending on how many you close out as partial and what you're looking for, yes, when you got in here, you might have been able to close out here. Part of your, you can always use the limit orders, but you should not have been in full contract anyways with your full contract size. But eventually it does go, and you could have probably closed partial there. If not, then yes, it was a losing trade when it pulled back. But here's the thing. You didn't full contract this. You didn't put on your 10. You put on like 2 or 3 or 4 because there wasn't enough room to get partial close from there to there. I hope you guys understand that. So riskier entry because there's not enough room. If I get in that, I know, almost beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it should go here to test that level again. It doesn't always do it, but that is, the odds are in my favor. It's bounced off his trend line. It should go to test that level. So that being said, if I don't have enough room in there to close partial, I'm not getting in with full contract. So that would have been a smaller loser. That's what we want. We want to protect our capital. So more risk, less contracts, less loss, less potential loss. Because all it did was come back down to test it again, pull back up. Now you get a lower high, and then it sweeps down. So that is where trend lines do not work very well, is on the smaller time frame. Now we love it if we can, and I'm always, like right before news, I love this. I love seeing it either going sideways, bouncing up and down before news, or a nice little trend like this. It has to be something that's decent, that's more symmetrical. That looks great. I can even draw copy the trend line and draw it up above it, drag it up here, because I could see that and go, man, that's beautiful. I mean, look at how that moved up right before news. Just nice, steady 3-minute candles, nothing fantastic, nothing out of the ordinary, just settling in before news. That's what you want to see before news. All right, so we're up, and we've actually we're at the 4-hour support and resistance level. This was drawn days ago. So I don't like that it's above it. That's not good for my trade. So, but the 4-hour time frames, they will bounce around. And this is just a 4-hour level. It's not a zone. So I don't expect them to hold up as much as a zone. You expect the 4-hour zones to hold up the best. But what I can do is look over here to the left, and I see these swings down here, and I'm looking at, these candle bodies here, this candle body here, and I want to look at that price point and mark that price point because I'm looking for a reason to move my stop. Can I move my stop? So I look at that and go, I like where my stop is. Don't get me wrong. I like where my stop is, and I think you might see why. Because it's above these swings in here. It's above them. And I just know that this price level may be tested. But if it's tested, if it pulls back up and tests that, is it just going to come right back down to here and bounce and then come up here anyways to take me out? So at that point, I have to decide, do I want to pull it a little further down? Now again, it's a small, this runner's small. I started with 20 and closed out 19. Started at 20 at news and closed out 19. Now I would have added, I mentioned that earlier, every one of these pullbacks, because I was on a 1-minute time frame. So on that being said, every one of these pullbacks, so I was in over here, that's where I got in, that's my price, with 20, closed 19, and then when it pulled back, I would have went in again on that candle break, or that pullback, and got in, and I would have thrown probably another 20 on, or I could have went in with 10, but let's say I threw another 20, it moved down. I could have closed out. I've had enough profit locked in already on the first trade. I could have chose to say, let's say I just put on 10. I could have closed out 6 and left 4 on, or closed out 8 and left 2 on. And then I had 3 runners. Well, then when it pulled over here, nice swing, pull back up, red candle, I'm in, and then another 10, it came down to where? That's my first. I need to close partial by here. I should close partial by there in case it doesn't go past that, in case it sweeps up. So I close partial out of the 10. Let's say I close out another 6, leave 4 on. Now I got like, I think 9 on. It pulls down, makes the lower low, because we're looking for it to make lower lows, lower highs. And then we get a sweep up. This I would not have added to. I don't have a nice push up. I'm looking for candles where it's pushing, like here. We see that a nice push all the way up. Well, at that point, draw a line, a retracement line across this candle to this one. And then when that one is broke, I wish I had a retracement line tool. Well, for some reason it didn't grab it. There it goes. Ah, sorry guys. It's attaching to the, I forget to turn my magnet off. So that would be my retracement line up. Well, when that retracement line's broke, I would stack more on if, let's add another trade. These are separate trades. Every one of these are separate trades. I would stack some on there. Where's my low? Where's my target? My target's here. Is there enough room for me to close partial there and get a whole nother trade in? Whatever that may be, your $100, $200, whatever. Each time it does this. Let's say you put on 10, you close out 8. Let's say you're looking for the 100. I'm just using 100, 200, whatever you want to use. That's a $100 lock-in, your daily trade. That's what you need to see. Another 100 locked in, another 100 locked in. You're at 300 just on your trades, regular trades. And then you have bonus. You get in on this one. And yes, you say, yes, there's enough to profit here to there. You have to make sure, and this is why. I'm glad this is set up this way because it's a perfect example of why we close partial. Because if you added 10 on here and you were expecting it to go past this, it doesn't. It turns right there. And if you didn't close partial, now you're in the negative on those 10. All 10. You're in the negative. That's why we close partial, guys, right there. Because you're in on the candle break. It pulls down. You decide, okay, I'm closing out 8. But you still have 2 runners on from this trade. Now, when it pulls back, guess what? You're in the negative on only 2 contracts. I mean, how does that sound? How does that make you feel? Mentally, physically, your stomach's not churning because you're not negative. You get in. We got in over here with another 10, but you're negative here on 10. Now, a lot of people are freaking out, and that's a big negative, big amount to be negative. Okay? If you would have closed partial and only had 2 on, well, you should be okay with that. You're only negative on 2 contracts. Plus, you locked in 1, 2, 3, 400. So you locked in 400. There's 4 trades, 100 apiece. That's 400. And your target is 100 a day. So you basically have made 4 days worth of trades. Let's say it's 100 a day because you're looking for 2,000 a month. That's 100 a day, 5 days, a week. Well, you just locked in 400. You locked in 4 trading days on a Friday. You could take next week off if you want. You could because you locked in enough for next week's trading. You locked in 400 and we still have bonuses running. We still have bonuses running, and that's what we leave our runners on for. And then again, it pulls back here. You're in the negative a little on the 2 because your stop should be here. And then on this push, where it pulls clear down here and makes a new low, then it's okay to move your stop above this high. And I would actually keep it where mine is, above this. Because it's pushed down, made a new low. Lower low, we expect it to come back and form a lower high. And that's what it did, lower high. So here's another sweep trade. I mean, you get in that one. So I don't even know what we're up, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 7th. I mean, it's been playing out while I've been talking. So there's your 7th entry. 7 trades. You're looking for 100 per trade. There you go. That's $700 locked in. And you leave a contract or two on every time you get into a trade. So that's 700 you've locked in, and you've left, let's say you just leave one runner. Say you get in with 10, you close out 9. So you had one runner, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have 7 runners on right now. So $700 locked in, 7 runners, just focusing on gold, just getting off of the momentum off the news catalyst. That's how this is played out. And you're just watching price action. Again, can you draw a trend line? We had that. We had a trend line here. From there down to here. And it was broke. And that's just kind of what I wanted to cover. That is part of why I was kind of wanted to go in a little late on the market too, so I could show you as things played out. That was our trend line. It came down off news, swept back, turned, boom. That's our second point. We draw a trend line. Trend line was not respected. And I guarantee some people took that long, got out of the short and took it long. But it wasn't done moving short. Okay? So it moved down. And then you took a little loss, and you're trying to scramble to get back in. On this big candle right here, somebody got in there, put a tight stop, and they're taken out. Or they stopped back here, and they hung on to the trade, and it stopped them out. And they're missing out on letting the runners go. Then you have to move your stop out here, or your trend line there. Well, then it still broke here. Some people got in long there. It wasn't done. Still push. So again, this is why the trend lines do not really hold up always on the smaller time frame. Then can you imagine moving it there? And then it swept up. And let's say you had runners on. Let's say you had a couple runners on, or you got in on this drop here, and you had 2 runners on, and then it comes up here and you close your runners out. Whoop, it's broke my trend line. I'm closing my runners. And you close your runners and get in long. Well, sorry, but you took a loss because it wasn't done moving short. So the trend line, that's why you won't always see a trend line on my 3-minute time frame. Most of the time you do, because a lot of times they do. We can draw one and it's okay. But during a news release, it's a whole different thing. So on the news releases, those trend lines don't always work. So on the 1 minute, I will draw these retracement lines. If I get a nice pullback, I'm going to draw that retracement line and look to add to my position. Now, again, I didn't do that, but that's how I would have traded this every single time. I didn't do it because I wanted to leave. When we started the session, I wanted my trade to be where it is, where it was on my entry, so I could show you where I actually got in on the trade. I put on 20, closed out 19. I've just left the runner go. Because if I would have every time you add to your position, it will move your original order down. So keep that in mind. Sometimes when I draw out on my charts, I will come in with the price tag, and then what I'll do is do this, and I'll color it green. But I'll come in, and I'm not going to label this, but I'll color it green. And if I'm going to add to my position, I come in for you guys and do this. I forgot you had to actually hit the OK button. But I'll come in and color it green, and then it still didn't do it. I think it's because I'm not typing something in there. Let's type something in there. So normally I'll type like original entry. So I would mark that, and then I would add to my position, because when I add to my position, this order, it would drop. Okay. And so that's why I'll do that. I'll normally label at least with that. And then I know you guys have seen the position tool. I don't always put that on my chart, but the position tool, you know, just marks your entry and how far is it going. If you want to look at your risk to reward, and my stop was up above, I mean, it wasn't quite there. I think it was down below that. Now it's pulled to a break even. So as we look where price is, how many like that right there? So that's just holding your runners. It pulled the whole tool down. I'm going to try something here. Oh, look at that, Control Z. I'm going to love that tool. Who was that? Mark mentioned that? Thanks for that, Mark. I love that thing. Yeah, you guys don't have to stay on here if you don't want. Guys, I don't mind doing this. It's Friday, and I'm not looking to get in more trades. So I know we've been going for 2 hours. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. Right now, it's tagged to a 4-hour zone. So I am going to move my stop now. So we just had a further push. And see, that's why you can't, the market respects the zones more than it does just a regular price level. So my support and resistance level, but this is drawn on a 4-hour time frame, that line. So just back and forth on it a little bit, and then it pushed back through to a new low. So at that point, this is a valid high for me. It's a valid lower high than this one, and I'm going to move my stop. I don't have anything else to close out. I've only got one on, so I'm going to move my stop out there. Now, I almost stacked on some here when it pulled back through, but I was busy talking. And we'll do that sometimes. Sometimes I'll just get in, but sometimes it's boring when you get into trades because sometimes they sit there for a while. This one has not been boring, so that's just kind of why I've kept going. And we haven't even checked on our other trade. I don't even know where it's at. So that's where I'm going to leave gold right now. I could close it out. You know, that's just a bonus, you know, $175. But if you added, I know we were up to 7. Does that include this last pop or not? This pullback? Yeah, it does. This would be the 7th edition. So you'd have the 7 trades on. And again, you'd pull a pulled partial, hopefully in here somewhere, because it was nearing that level. And it kind of blew through it, blew right by. So if you were thinking, well, if it gets near there, I'm going to close, and this candle started, you might not even close quick enough, and then it just shot down here. Well, you're just in more on your partial. But that was the 7th entry, and so you've had that, you know, $100 trades or 700, like I said, and then you'd have a bonus on. This is just a bonus on one. That's from way up here, 177. Well, you would have got in here on another. You'd have a bonus. Let's say you only let one more run. You'd have a bonus from there down. So maybe about 150, 160. And then you would have got in here, had a bonus on here, about 150, let's say. About at least, what is that? Not quite halfway. So about $100 on this one. And then this one. And then this one. So those 3 right there are an extra $300 you'd be up on your runners, about 150, about 160, so about $600 up on your runners. This one is down more. It would be more like 75 or 80 on the runner. So you'd be up about 675 on a runner, on your runners. 675 plus 700 you locked in. There's almost $1,400 day. Not bad. Because again, how much? I know a lot of people are working. So how much do you make per work? Yeah, we'll look at Forex, but when I look at Forex, I'm probably going to do it on MetaTrader 4. Because that's what I traded on. I've done a few here and traded some Forex on Forex futures. I don't like it as much as spot Forex. So I normally don't have, but I do have the pairs. I just recently put them in here, some of them. So I do have the Aussie, of course, because I love trading that. Normally, though, that's during Aussie news, which is during the Sydney session, so afternoon. And then I've got the pound here, and then I should have the euro. Where's my euro? It's down here. Yeah, and here you can see I marked them currencies, a tab in here for currencies, but I don't have them all there as I pull them up in here so I can switch back and forth between charts. So like right here, if I have NQ up, I can just toggle the down arrow and it'll go right to the pound. And you can see why right there. I don't like that. I don't like the way they look on here. So that's our gold trade. We moved the, already moved the stop. So I don't know if I'm just going to let it play out. It's for Friday. It's a bonus trade, as they say. What do they call it? Free Money Fridays. So Free Money Friday. And here's where we are on oil. So we're still up. I have 374, which is nice on a bonus. Little runners, 2 runners. My stop was out of the way of everything up here above that support resistance. So far, it's stayed below the zone. Oh, is it? Ew, I better check. I'll check with my broker on that. I might not be able to. That's probably a roll. He says that you can't stream with MetaTrader, and that probably is true. It's used worldwide, but the U.S. has cut out a lot of stuff, which I don't care for. Lucky we still have any Forex brokers at all in the U.S. We've seen a big shift, and that's why a lot of people have gone to futures from Forex. It's not because they can't trade Forex and make money, but a lot of people here in the U.S., a lot of brokers bailed, and you can't trade from the U.S. So anyways, it stayed below this support resistance level over here, and that was about 9:30. So the stop was moved here. We're down below the 4-hour zone, and we drew this line. We drew that line off that low and said if it breaks through there, it's making a lower low. It barely did. It's not impressive. That is not impressive at all, that it barely broke. But technically, it's a lower low than this one. And if you look at candle bodies, that's really our turning price. Our turning price was right there. The price it tapped is down here. So there's a big difference. And that's why the 1-minute candles, sometimes we'll ignore the wick. On the 1-minute time frame, this is the turning price because that's where it turned. This is just the price it tapped. So over here, this low turning price here is technically lower. It's technically lower than that, but to me, there's my turn low. Here's my turn low, lower low, comes up, lower high, and then it dies. So over here we have a higher low, which means when you see lower low or higher high, lower lows and lower highs on the way down, and then you start seeing a higher low and a lower low, well then you're saying, okay, sideways, it's consolidated. We're not seeing the good swings and pushes that we want to see. So let's hang out here for the rest of the day. It might, I don't know. But ultimately, you would have want to shorted. So you were short here, pulled back. You're only going to want to get a short in shorts because we're off that push. It's bearish for the day. Also, where did it turn? 4-hour time zone. It went under here, blew through it, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Now let's find some resistance, which is our 4-hour time zone. It broke it for a little bit. And then when it tested it, so it broke through, but when it came back and tested it, it did not hold up as support. It blew back through. Came back up through again, but when it tested, pulled back to test it, did not hold up as support. So that's what you want to see because we're already bearish and we just had a bearish move that pulled through the zone. Well, then it came down, red candles. When it went back to test it, it didn't, you know, it tested the high, went back down, formed low, lower low, stayed under this time. So it stayed under, stayed under. So at that point, you're like, okay, it's staying under a 4-hour zone. My bias should be to short. Well, we just had a big bearish move down. Your bias should be short from that as well. So you short, you short, you short. There are people that trade retracements. On this turn here, they would get in long, trading it back up to the zone. Get in here, maybe on this candle, after a pullback, push up, pull back, push up, and they get in long, trading it to the zone. I don't do that. It's riskier. If I'm going to do that, I'm surely not going to put, and again, I use 10 contracts because that's what a lot of people are putting on. So again, I'm not going to put on 10, riskier trade, because we just had a big bearish move. We just had a bearish sweep down here. So to trade against that is a little riskier. Did it get there? Yes, that's hindsight. I'm using hindsight there. I can see that now. But when it was here, and if you decide, well, I'm gonna trade this back up to that zone. Well, it's a riskier trade, okay? Because we had a big bearish move here, bearish sweep here, and you get in long. You better believe you better be lower on contracts. Trade safely. You have to do trade, risk, account management. 3 different management techniques that you need to learn: trade, and your overall risk, and your account management, or risk management, sorry. And then, so you should be in the shorts. Short, short, short. So I'm going to move my stop though. And I know I'm going to pop it above the 4-hour zone. And we'll go there. It could. If it comes back to sweep this zone, it could do what it did here and pop me out. And I'm okay. So we're locking in that. We're up, what? We were up a little bit more here. 376. I'll go ahead and close one out. So what I'm doing is just locking in I'm locking in part of this bonus. So I'm going to lock in half. And I closed out 1. And then I need to change my, I need to modify my stop order. Oh, sorry, I have my speaker way up. That's the sound for closing out a trade. I should shut that off. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so there, I closed out, so I've protected my position. Now here's what we could have done. Every time it pulled back, we could have added. So when it pulled back up here, we could have added a short trade on. Now it's going to drop this. That trade will drop as you add. That's the one thing you have to keep in mind on your runners, because I don't want to lose out on my runners. I want to keep them going. But I could have added another trade on here, and then when it dropped down, again, your target should be the inside of this swing, because it may not always get to that price. So the target should be the inside of the swing, the inside bottom, and that's what that is, around that level. And look what it did. It pulled down, and you're going, man, okay, here's my line originally off that low. We made a low here. So, and that's a lower low, so surely it's going to go down and make a lower low. Maybe to here. I'll wait and pull profit there. Well, it didn't. It swung and it turned on the inside of that swing. So that's why we closed partial. Got in with whatever, 4, 10, 6. Close out partial. And then it's pulled back. So now you would be in the up here, you would have been in the negative just on your couple runners that you left go. Always leave runners go on your extra trades. I love doing that. And then you're stacking on. What we just looked at earlier was we stacked on gold. We stacked on 7 sets of runners. And if they were only one runner each, that trade was up about 700 just on the runners, and you'd locked in 7. Yeah, I've done some Bitcoin. Someone asked about Bitcoin. I've done some. It's normally something I do not look at trading every day. I will look out at it, and then if it's got that setup, I'll do it. So now I could. It's what? Oh, it's lunchtime. So it's lunchtime. We got the London boys. They're gone. So London market's closed. So there goes half of our market makers. They're gone. So U.S. is an awesome market to trade. London's great to trade. U.S. is great to trade. The overlap. At 8 in the morning, I start looking at trades because the U.S. markets are opening and the London boys are coming back from lunch. I just call them the London boys. I'm sure there's some women in there too. So the London market makers, the London boys, the hedge fund managers over there, the big traders, they're coming back from a lunchtime when our markets are opening. So now we've got major players. That's why the first 2 hours of the market are key here in the U.S. Or the last few of the London session. But the first 2 hours of the U.S. session, and I like 8 to 10, I'm really looking to get in trades because we've got power players in both sides of the water of the pond. So we got London market makers, overseas market makers. We got the U.S. market makers, Canada. In Canada, you got the Canadian dollar. You got oil. Oil's heavily tied to Canadian news. If you see me post the calendar out, news calendar out there, and it's got the CAD news coming out, it's in our time zone, Eastern, when it comes out. So 8:30 in the morning, that Canadian dollar and oil will move because oil's heavily tied to the Canadian dollar. So that's why you have to know when those are coming out. So that being said, I want the first 2 hours of the market. I want 8 o'clock to 10 Eastern is going to be my basically power trade session. Because again, we've got major market players over in London, overseas. We got major market players here in the U.S. We should see movement. And I love it when stuff is at a zone before the market opens, because then, and here's 8:30 right here, because it fell off that zone. Now, did it fall because we have a 4-hour zone there? No, not at all. It fell off the news catalyst. Okay, it did not fall just because we have a 4-hour zone there and it broke our trend line. That is not why it fell. That's not, the market makers aren't using this. Now, are the market makers using my zone there? No, they're not using the zone, but they're the ones that turn the market at these price levels, turn the market at that price zone. Okay, turn the market here. So sweep up, sweep down, sweep up, hit the zone, down, over here, sweep down, tap this several times, popped up. So are the market makers trading off the zone? Not directly. They're trading off a price, okay? So as we're down on the smaller time frame, we're aware of where it may turn or may fall off of because we have those major price levels marked. Okay, if they are going to turn the market at that price point, I need to be aware of it. Sometimes we'll break through it, and we just have to be okay with that. Is it still running? MCU still in that? All right, and then we're seeing right here, we'll go back and look at that one too, but we're seeing oil right here tap that low again. So that would have been a good runner to get in as it pulled back, pop a run or pop another trade on. You could have profited, pull partial in here because it may not go past this low. And it really didn't. I mean, it pulled down and tapped that low. And if we're on a 1 minute, we'd see more of a swing. I don't want that coming up. We don't have a symbol that starts with a period. So there it goes. It's trying to push. But again, you could have got in again on a short. It swept down and it turned right here. Well, it turned just before it hit that. It kind of tapped it. So it pulled back up and now made another run. Lower high than this one. Kind of a double tap there. And then on that. But at this point in time, I'm not down on a 1. I'm only down on the 1 for the news release. So we're looking at it like this. If it pushes down past this low, and I'd love to see it push quite a bit. I would just want to see it go about to here. It may not. It may barely push that thing. It may not even get there. But if we see a push lower than that and then pull back, well, then I'll look to move my stop on the pullback. I might pull it up above these two highs here. And it's locking in a little, not much. And try and pull gold up. So we're still in gold. Pulled, it's down, back down all the way there, just sitting. So if you want to be aggressive with your stop, you could push it down. I don't have anything to take off, but more aggressive would be to pull it down above the high that it's forming. So I could pull it there, and I'll leave it there. It's sideways, and we definitely have a high area here and a low area here. It is a Friday, so oh, it's 11:30. I thought it was 12:30. Sorry, guys. Time's getting away. I got another hour. Oh, you're in trouble. All right, so that's where I'd move it. I just know that as we saw it kind of pop up here, it's testing this price point. No real area to draw downtrend lines on. I can kind of draw one here from there to there and extend it out and say, if that's broke, I'm out. I'm just done. But for me, I'd rather let this ride. If you're holding over the weekend, if I was going to hold over the weekend, I'd had this stop still up here. That'd be my hold over the weekend level. Because I know if this is where we end up on Friday, I know that it could pop on Friday and open up higher, and we could have a gap. And then I'd look for further push down, but it is on a 4-hour zone. So I wouldn't expect that. So I close on Fridays. So for me, my stop's back up here wherever I had it, about there. That's where my stop's going to be on that. Yeah, platinum just keeps sweeping down, doesn't it? Well, where's it going? Oh, looky there. We have a zone. Surprise! Anyone surprised that there's a zone there? You should not be surprised, because that was a sweep low. So again, if you go out to your 4-hour time frame and pop these on the charts, again, good sweep down, turn, swept up, good decent move down and up, and we just draw off that level. We're drawing off the wick, basically, is what we're drawing off of. And if you, and let me zoom into that basically we're at the bottom of this wick on the red candle, the bottom of the wick to the top, or the candle body, bottom of the candle body to the wick. And if you look to the left, what do you see? Well, sweep down, sweep up. Sweep down, sideways movement for 3 candles, sweep up. Guess what? It's around the same price. See how boring it you get? Yep, it's around the same price. Should be my target. That's kind of the way you got to treat it. So that's my target. That's where it's heading to. Can it blow through this? 100%. Will it blow through today? I don't expect that. We're about midday. So I would not expect that. And then again, we're going to be closing out in the afternoon. But so far, that's where it should have been your target, is that zone. So it shouldn't be a surprise if it gets there. It's just making lower lows, lower highs after the break. So MC says yeah, we'll catch you later. Have a good weekend. Yeah, back testing's good, but you should also be forward testing every day, especially if you're wanting to practice, demo trade, simulate trade, whatever you want to call it. I think you should be in live, in the live market and testing that way. But back testing's good. This platform has a good replay tool where you can just pick a point in time and go back, and you can use these same techniques. When you do that, make sure you've already gone out to your 4 hour and mark up your charts, and you can go back and back test. All right, so let's check on where we're at so far. We're on gold. Oh, look, it's getting a push. It's pushing into the zone. So this is why, again, why we hold runners until we see, and this is our 3 minute. So it made it all the way down. All the way down. That's a long runner. And again, trading that, getting in multiple times, you had $700 in trades. 7 trades, 100 each. Or 7 trades at 200 each, or 7 trades at 300 each. However many lots you put on close partial. But it's 7 trades, and that's your partial. So that's what you have to do to make a living. You pull partial. Because this could have very well pulled here and then turned and went back, stopped us out. That's why we closed partial. That's the sole reason. It pulls down. I used to trade on a 15-minute chart when I was learning. I'd get in, it would pull down. I'd be like, man, cool, I'm up $400. And then it would come back and stop me out in the negative. And I just had to figure out a way to capture some of that money. Well, I was up 400 or up 500. So I need to close out part of these trades so that I can lock that in, because I had to have money to survive. You guys know I had back problems, and I couldn't work. So basically, good long runner, good long day on this. I know we've been long on the session. Hope that's all right. You guys can always leave whenever you want. I just decided to follow through with these since I was in them, and just so you guys can see how they played out for the day. But I did want to go over adding multiple trades. So again, on gold, you would have had 7 trades in here, locking in 100 each trade, 200 each trade, whatever. So you'd have 700 or 1400 or 2100 if you depending on how much you locked in. If you locked in 300 per trade, 2100 just on your base trades, that is your daily goal, your trade goal for the day. How much you need to make per trade. You should be closing partial. Let your runners go, because we never know if it's going to just keep running, which it did. So your runners are still on, and you'd have 7 runners on. Either 1 lot each, 2, 3, whatever that may be. And that's going to be the same. On the runners alone are an extra 700 or 14 or 21 in this case. But overall, a good run to the zone. Would I close now? No. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm going to close. So either it's going to pull back and take me out, which I'm fine. And on this one runner, it's like 180. So I think I'm past the 80 mark. So I'm going to get at least 100 on the runner. Again, I would have rather stacked in. And you could scale in. And that's something I've mentioned. I'll just go over it real quick. But scaling in would be, it pulls down, you're really not quite sure. So you put on, say, 2 lots, or even 1. You put on 1 micro. It pulls down, pulls back. You got nothing to take off when it pulls down. It sweeps back and then down. Well, now you've made a higher or a lower high and then a lower low. Okay, and so you still got nothing to take off. But then it pulls back and you see red candle. You stack on one more contract. Pulls down, lower low, still doing its thing, lower low, lower high, break of that retracement line, stack on one more contract. Now you've got 3, pulls back, stack on one more for 4, Oh, sorry, guys. Is it back on? All right. So what I was saying is I am going to. Someone let me know if that's back on. I'd appreciate it. Get off here in a little bit, break for lunch, and then I will post where these are at. I'll post them in the Discord later. Do you have sound now? It's lagging a little bit. YouTube. There's a delay. All right. Well, if I do this, I used to do this in Zoom. And of course, Zoom's live. YouTube's a delay. So sorry about that. But what I was saying is I will, and you guys are probably already hearing this twice. But I'm not looking to add to either of these. What I'll do is I'll post these out in the Discord at the end of the day, just where we're at. And you guys should know where you're at. Hopefully, and you can mark up your charts like where I got in, where my stop is. But you guys know when I post images out there, of course, they're not technically not signals to trade, but I always post. I don't post charts without trades. I just don't. If I'm in something, you're going to see it. And the same with oil here. If it breaks and we get a lower low, lower high, I'll move my stop. All right. We'll peek in on platinum. Since it was down near that low, I kind of want to peek. So even it's formed a lower low. So it's having nice pushes down. We'll see. It's probably going to come back to retest this or even this up here. So I'm actually going to mark that. I'm not looking to get in. Not this late in the day on platinum. Not even looking. But that's where it could come back to test. So if I was in something, it would not surprise me at all if it tests that level. It actually wouldn't surprise me if it goes clear back here because we have a huge gap in there. All right. All right. So I'm done streaming. I think we've been going for a while now. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sorry we did kind of peek out the 4 hour down as we went, but my main goal was to come in with trades on and just kind of go over the management of those trades as they went. So I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll see you in the Discord. And if I don't, if you're breaking for the day, because I'm going to take lunch here in a little, we'll see you on Sunday night. I'll have the... I'll go out to the higher time frames and do my weekend analysis sometime over the weekend. I don't have to wait till Sunday night. So it'll be sometime. It probably won't be tonight. It's Friday night. Oh, it won't be. I'll be at the football game. Sorry. It will not be tonight because I won't stay up late. It'll be tomorrow sometime. I'll go over the 4 hour down, do a top down for the weekend, clean my charts off, and you'll see that. So I will do that live. Only, and you don't have to come on live. Just know it'll be, the live's always recorded. So I will be on, but don't think you have to be on because it is recorded. The only reason I'm doing those live right now is because when I do a live, those are instantly on YouTube. I don't have to upload them. I was recording, and then when I went to upload, sometimes it'd take 6 to 8 hours. 10. I'd have one uploading, and by morning it still wouldn't have uploaded. It had issues. I'd have to try and re-upload, and it was a pain. And that's why I was posting stuff in like Google Photos to share with you guys the videos. So I'll be doing them live, but you don't have to be there. So just keep that in mind. But that's why I'm doing it, is just so they're instantly, you guys can go in there at any time over the weekend and look at those before Monday morning. All right, guys, appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you.